All right, welcome, my friends. Welcome. Get started here in just a second. All right, so yeah, we'll get started here very shortly. Let me know how the sound is. Make sure the background music isn't terrible. I'm ready for the comments to come flying and roasting my music. Okay, my friends. So yeah, we'll get started here in a second. If you're new to the stream, we kind of run through the same pattern every week. We start with the big picture on Bitcoin, work our way down into lower time frames, and normally end with alts and Q&A. I would appreciate if you would keep your questions relevant to the topic at hand, but by all means, any questions, topics, comments, whatever, just throw them in the comment section. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Yeah, special shout out to Coinbase for sponsoring my content and rewarding me for doing these streams. Feels awesome to be partnered up with a legitimate brand. All right, yeah, so I'm kind of just chilling, having my just brewed a fresh cup of coffee for the stream to get the caffeine flowing. But yeah, we'll go ahead and start off with the macro outlook here in a second. So I'm more or less gonna kind of ignore chat for a minute while I run through this, and then we'll see where we end up. Background music sounds way too loud for me. I'm gonna turn it down. Boomer sound engineer over here. All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of high time frame yap on Bitcoin. So the main talking point for Bitcoin right now for me is that I'm still very much optimistic that the trend is not over. I think that we're going to see prices a lot higher, and this kind of de-risking or sell wave that you're experiencing right now, you should be looking at as an opportunity. So yeah, I'll do a full run through, talk about my big picture plans, my medium time frame plans. We'll talk about my positioning and kind of what I think the move is for the rest of the year. So start top to bottom. So right now, we failed to break out above 120k, and we've lost the range. So for now, I think that the simple plan is that we're going to build out a range between 116 and call it like 110, 111. From there, so either we're building out a range, or we are V'ing back up off of this sell-off to reclaim this range that we just broke down from. Between these two, I definitely think that ranging below the previous range is the most likely. So your main goal on high time frame is to not let yourself get chopped up over the next couple of weeks, but focus on the idea that the high time frame trend structure is really strong, and expecting higher price later in the year is a really sensible play. So you want to be, basically looking to position for that is the short and yap. So I have a lot of different thoughts on big picture right now. I'm probably going to skip over a lot of them just to keep it concise, but I really think that, go over to the quarterly chart really quickly. Right, we're almost halfway through, getting close to being halfway through Q3. I think that the next few weeks are likely to be sluggish for markets, but then as we get pretty close to Q4 is when I think that things will spark up for us again. If we were to do some LARP like we've done in the past, right, I think that if you expect this quarter to be an up quarter, don't expect that it's just going to be like a flat line into an up, right, or something, or down into an up, right. There's going to be something that's going to make you sweat. So my estimation is that you're going to see mostly sideways here, and as we get close to Q4, you're probably going to see a front run at the end of Q3, and then a wipeout at the beginning of Q4, and then a continuation in Q4, right? That's, if we really just do this script again, it would be crazy because we've basically done this 2 or 3 years in a row now, but that's more or less what my expectation is, right? You don't really expect to rip off the quarterly open. We're probably going to do the fuck you debate move first. So that's more or less where I'm at, right? I think that Bitcoin probably is going to trade lower than where it's at. Our current low is like just under 112, so 111.8 or something. I think that we probably are going to be setting a little bit of a lower low as we lose downside momentum and round out a bottom here, to see this kind of bigger picture play work out for us. But yeah, it's more or less where I'm at, right? If for some reason this play fails, so let's is this chart clean enough? If if we don't see a sideways range here and then a markup from this, what it will look like most likely is us reaccepting back into this range. If that's the case, then you want to be looking a lot deeper, right? So if 110 doesn't hold as support, then I think that we would trade all the way back to this region at about like 90, somewhere between 90 to 92 or 93, something like that, right? So yeah, those are your levels, right? 110 is macro support right now. You lose 110, you target 90. As long as we're over 110, I think that things look really good for rounding out type of range here, to mark up later in the quarter, right? I think that if we do this kind of bottom, it means to me that we probably would have a markup stage in a couple weeks, at the end of Q3, more than a couple weeks, actually, more like a month and a half, something like that. All right, we will kind of pause from the yap. That's more or less what my main talking points are for higher time frame. Let me know if there's any questions. What up, everybody? When bottom? I think the bottom is definitely in the process of being, you know, I'm obviously, when Lear's making the thumbnails for me, we're joking around or whatever with that shit just for fun, but I do think that we are making the bottom right now. Is the bottom in? I definitely don't think so. And you know, one of the big questions you guys are going to have, you know, is around positioning, right? So I consolidated all of my alts, or the overwhelming majority of my alts just got swapped over into Bitcoin, and then I hedged my Bitcoin stack. So I am, technically I'm slightly net long right now, but basically risk off. While I think we're going to just basically, we'll probably see alts continue to bleed the way that they are, while Bitcoin is mostly like sideways, like slash down, right? Downwards chop on Bitcoin and then actual blood on alts. That's what the expectation is right now for sure. Okay, kind of looks like August 2020, low key. That is, yeah, one of the key points I was talking about. Is that August actually? I don't remember when. September. Okay, August, September. Yeah. So I would love, I feel like, I'll go ahead and preface this by saying I don't think that this really plays out. It would be too perfect for us, but if you're an OG Bitcoin trader, you know the 10K was a really significant resistance. It was a support at certain points, but it was a resistance for a lot of periods, for multiple years, and these were some of the pivotal moments when I really learned how to trade. So 10K was always a really important level. When we finally broke above 10K at the start of the bull run, right, and flipped it into support, I mean, this was the most obvious long that you could ever get in your life, basically. So technically there's a realm of possibility where that's what we're doing right now. I was doing it, you know, yeah, things are definitely very different right now, so you shouldn't compare them one to one, but it gives me a little bit of a similar type of vibe. Suggested that testing this area would be bearish when we were ranging a bit higher. I just changed my opinion, man. The way that I trade, because of what I've found works for me, is I just am always trying to find the argument to trade the long side. I think I skipped last week's stream, which maybe is why maybe you guys feel somewhat behind. But I just, you know, unfortunately last week, I actually had a really rough week last week from a personal standpoint, which negatively impacted my trading. But unfortunately last week just had to make an adjustment, had to sell off some shit, and had to slap on a hedge. My hope is that the hedge is going to end up having been a waste of money and time, and that that it will probably hopefully be a small loss, and that the markets won't trade down that much. But I put on these hedges because you never know. I've traded Bitcoin for a long time, and there are periods where Bitcoin, you know, in the past has just rolled over 20%. And if you don't plan before then, and all of a sudden markets go into, you know, true just it's over mode, you know, you don't want to be operating from a position of weakness. So honestly, I just changed my opinion, right? I mean, Bitcoin, when you look at it on medium time frame, the breakouts just kept failing and failing and failing, and then eventually I just came to my senses that, hey, you need to, you know, as much as you want to be optimistic, and as much as I have the just maximum confidence, excuse me, in us trading higher this year, at the end of the day, positional risk and thesis risk are not the same thing. So the positional risk wasn't valid anymore. Hoping 109, 110K next. Bounce to 116. I think we're going to be stuck between those levels for a while. Talk about Litecoin yet? No. I do have plans to talk about Litecoin though. I moved it up on my list recently. Price action is so hard for day trading. I actually would argue that if there's different regimes, right? There might be a month where it's a good period to day trade, or there's a month where it's a good time to momentum trade, right? This is actually a reasonable time to be day trading. You're getting enough intraday volatility on Bitcoin for it moving 2%. I would say day trading is pretty doable right now. Can you please share your agar template? Doc told us you have copyright. Doc just is scapegoating me. I like that. Doc is just using me as a scapegoat. That's crazy. What do you think about Bitcoin sweeping 103K-ish? God damn, I got a frog in the throat today. Dry throat. I don't want to see us lose 110. So you're talking about like 103. I mean, I could see a scenario where you like come back into the range and you know, classic range deviation type play. I don't consider that super high probability. I think we're ranging higher or we're going lower. Those are my main plans. Thank you, Lear. Appreciate you, no problem. User 101, I like the name. Wonder if you could speak on the process of finding/refining an edge in practical sense, how to approach it. Yeah, I'm down to answer questions like this by all means. I do like the moments where I can maybe pass on a piece of useful information to you guys. But it's a really heavy topic. But you know what? I'm going to try to glance over a topic that is, this should be a full presentation kind of thing, not just me yapping for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. But, edge can be like a mechanical kind of technical thing in markets where when you see these things happen, you just send this, play and it has positive expectancy. It could be something like when somebody opens a really large short into a low and then somebody pukes along and you buy into that, right, as a reversion long. That is a piece of, I don't really use that edge anymore. That's why I don't care about giving it away. But a lot of those kind of simple things were so repeatable that was clearly an edge for me in like the 2021 2022 days. I think the edge has decayed on that a lot, so I don't mind sharing it. There's like the technical side of edge, and then there's the more of the psychological side or the more personal side. Most of you guys are, hold on, before I do all this, if I'm out here just spitting this fucking knowledge on you guys, press like for me. 160 of you in here and 25 likes. Press like. The other side of edge that is more practical for the majority of you listeners is the side of edge that is in your own personal control. It's your ability to handle the turbulent up and downs of when you fail as a trader, right? Being able to handle that and bounce back from it. A lot of the mental side of the game actually ends up being your guys' edge, right? For me, one of the edges that has been a persistent edge for years now, it's going to sound boring to you, but it's patience. I'm so patient. I don't give two shits if the market legs up or down without me. You're not really going to. The only reason why I ever complain about missing it is if I had the plan and I just like pussied out on it, right? If I just missed the setup, right? I'm just the most patient person when it comes to this shit. So honestly, the best answers to questions like that are often the most boring ones. It's going to be you being patient and you actually managing your risk and having that, survivor mindset, and then knowing in that moment, it's like, okay, Bitcoin actually just legged up. In this stage right here, when Bitcoin legs up from 70K to 100K, like it's risk on time. It's time to actually slide the leverage up and like grab my nuts and gamble, right? And for this one little period, that's when I have that permission to be a retard with my risk, basically. I could yap on and on and on about edge, but for most of you guys, the strongest edge that you guys are gonna be able to establish for yourself is. And the edge that will have the least decay too, right? Technical edges are going to decay hard. Psychological edges, they don't, right? It's just like if you have better self-control and discipline than the average person, that's not something that's going to, decay unless you let it decay, right? People, if you have true self-control, you don't really need to worry about the average person catching up to you, right? That's not going to happen. Especially not in the modern world where lack of self-control and discipline, are becoming even more and more of a thing, right? With all of our phones and computers and shit, like your ability to be, you know, disciplined is getting that much harder every year that goes by. Got that TikTok brain cooking us. I could yap really hard about that. I don't want to continue to do that conversation. I want to move forward though. Seems overwhelming considering price action indicators, timeframes, etc. Look, guys, closing thoughts on the edge. If you think that your edge is going to come from some indicators or some price action or some time frames, you're just swimming up the wrong path, right? In order to have a true technical edge, it needs to be more concrete than a candlestick or whatever, for sure. So yeah, your average person's experience is thinking the indicators and stuff are the answer when they're not. I could trade as much as people probably would think that this is not the truth. I could trade the overwhelming majority of my trade setups that are really good ones. I could trade with just a price chart. No joke. A lot like for lower time frame, even like the sweaty intraday order flow trading, I don't actually need the order flow stuff to take the same exact setup. It just helps me do it more effectively. Maybe we become boomers and buy gold this summer. Gold. What do you mean gold? This is silver summer, bro. I don't own any gold. I'm all in silver on my commodities play. So this is silver summer. Possibly that 112K was our bottom and we just grind up the rest of August. I don't think so, bro. I mean, we're already starting to retest it. I think that we will definitely be testing the lows that we just set, and we'll probably be setting lower lows in the short term. But don't sweat it, guys. In the long run, all we're doing is creating the bottom right now. Does day trading edge still work nowadays? 100%, bro. I'm not gonna LARP on here and say I don't like push myself to day trade the same way that I used to. I'll go through periods where I'll day trade a lot for a couple weeks and then just won't for 2 months. It's just my kind of mental state that I'm at. But I have the most confidence that people can still learn it and figure it out because, you know, Doc gives me so much hope. Because I've watched Doc learn a lot of my stuff and be able to really apply it in an effective way. So Dog has been one of the best, like, you know, what's the terminology, right? Like, real, like, application of, like, I teach teach somebody something and then watch it materialize on their own end. So, very cool. And so, TLDR, I'm very confident you can figure this shit out. I'm not trying to make this a glazed Doc stream, by the way, so nobody clip this and send it to him because I'm going to have to fucking, you know, send the shooters after you. But for him, it's a lot about, like, his motivation and drive and overcoming the people that told him he couldn't do it. What is Doc? Doc is my friend. He's a student that became a good friend and business partner. I gotta say business partner instead of partner because otherwise the gay clips are gonna get sent out too. No way you mark the bottom now? Oh, we're marking the bottom. Would you recommend backtesting stats as confluence for intraday, intra-week trades? To each their own. Might be worth it for you, maybe. It isn't. I did a lot of that stuff in the early days and it did help me, so I would say if you're newer, maybe it could help you a lot. You mentioned people may be scared in the next few weeks, but would you not be interested in longing one? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, Jeggers. I'm saying people are going to be scared because people are about to be pussies and say that the cycle top is over because we broke down from this range. And I think we go sideways and people will be scared in the chop, right? Chop will scare people. Every time we have a drive down like today, people are probably really scared. Like yesterday, they thought, oh, we bought the bottom, we're all gigachads. And now today, they're shitting their pants. So we're going to have a couple of weeks of we're so back, it's so over, flip-flop over and over again, right? That's what ranges do, right? We're so back, it's so over and over again. We do that until they give up. Love to see that. John, thank you. His imaginary friend confirmed. I don't have any friends. 3 of the boys. Chronic, never let him live that one down. That was one of the craziest things he's ever said in his life. And full disclosure, Doc said he was going to start banning people for making fun of that, and I just immediately removed his ban privileges, so don't worry. You have full authority. You just cook his ass. Of course, Lear can edit any word out, of course. Release the gay clips. Yeah, I get you. I just think we may drive down quite soon. We'll see, man. I mean, I'm risk off right now. This is why I love my style so much, you know. I'm kind of comfy however things play out. I'm going to go through the last couple questions, comments in chat, and then I'm going to move on to medium time frame Bitcoin. Hi, Mag. What has changed contextually between now and you not wanting to see the impulsive move retraced? Well, the impulsive move, you know, got retraced, right? So I wanted to move to medium time frame anyways. We can look at that. I did not want to see this region right here, 115.2, get, you know, accepted below. So that's exactly what happened, right? Originally, we were able to hold his support, right? And I was optimistic about that, even optimistic about this long, right? But coming back, then, you know, accepting below it and retesting it as resistance. Even today, we retested it as resistance. It's just, yeah, not a good look, right? You don't want to see the impulses get be lost, right? And one of the warning signs for me beforehand, you know, unfortunately, in the early parts of the range, you kind of can't tell, right? You know, I made the argument that one strong candle is all you need, right? So it, you know, a high, right, a low, a weaker high, kind of, you know, are equalish, you know, but it's consecutively getting worse and worse along the way, right? Lower lows, lower highs, right? There was a point where, you know, with this one in particular was, this is where I thought we would get the stronger rebound, right? From this wipeout, we should have gotten a strong rebound where we could have broken out from there. That was my hope. So us failing and then just getting bonked a few times, right? You know, I didn't hedge until the exact top by any means, no LARPs here, but that's where I'm at on the medium time frame view, more or less, right? The bonks are just unfortunately too brutal, right? And, you know, the amount of positive news that we had coming in during this period too, I mean, the kind of things that, you know, honestly, I would, if you had told me a few years ago that I would see tweets from the SEC saying we want to move all assets onto the blockchain, like, I would have told you, yeah, you're fucking put down the crack pipe, bro. But, you know, I saw that tweet the other day, so anyways, we'll digress. Can VWAP and market profile be used on other markets like Forex or gold? It can definitely be used on lots of other markets. The one thing I have to say, though, is that I don't know how Forex markets work with volume. VWAP and market profile, and you know, market profile not so much, but VWAP and volume profile, it's all volume based. I don't know how the volume works in Forex, but yes, all this stuff this stuff did not originate with crypto. It originated with futures traders and TradFi. Can I get CME, Binance, and Bybit aggregated for order flow? No. I don't know anything I don't know anywhere that aggregates CME into Bybit and Binance. I don't think you don't want to aggregate CME, and you want to look at CME individually. Aggregated order flow is dumb, guys. I've been saying that for years, right? Individual flow is key. Doc is committing cultural appropriation by having XBT in his name. I definitely made fun of him a couple of times for that already. Don't worry. It's all good though, because you can put the XBT in your name if you have a proven ability to trade perp accounts. 100%. There's probably a lot of people on CT that have XBT in their name and don't even know what the fuck that's from. And if that's the case, that's pretty lame. Where did you start volume profile from? I think the PDF boys were the first people that introduced it to me. None of you guys are gonna know that group. But yeah, my friend and mentor was a part of a group called PDF. I got a lot of my first insights from him, and then I learned a lot of stuff from the TradFi boomers, and then I kind of blended things together on my own end. Prime Magus was 2020 level to level matey era. I mean, I was super bearish in 2020. You know, I was like super risk off and like shorting everything and stuff in 2020. I would not consider that my prime. Honestly, listen the fuck up right now. Let me drop some knowledge on you guys. Jeggers is saying that I was in my prime in 2020 because I played the market really well. But from a performance standpoint, in terms of actual growth on capital, it was not one of my best years, even though I traded it really effectively. My best years have always come in the bull stages, right? So that's the lesson, right? They're like, the value of shorting and being bearish is in defense, right? In the ability to not lose the money that you've made in the bull cycles. But pretty much all the money I ever make comes from risk on up. And I think that's a really important lesson, right? The big short had cooked a couple of your guys' brains and made you think that you're going to be out here shorting, you know, the fucking next bubble. And it's just a stupid approach to life. Please take notes on that, honestly. Oh, where do you start volume profile from? I thought you meant like where the fuck do you start learning it from? Really important. You're trying to start the volume profile when the range begins. So when the impulse ends is when you. A lot of people do it backwards, right? You want to do it when the impulse ends, not starts. Lucifer, you wish I spoke about you like I spoke about Doc. Why is individual flow key? Because you can't aggregating a bunch of platforms together. I mean, it's like a tiresome thing for me to even explain because I've already said it a bunch of times, right? Binance does so much more volume than Bybit, for example, that if you aggregate them together, you have to weight them, and the weighting needs to be dynamic because, you know, every couple of months that the weighting is different. It's just there's just no sense. If you try to be smart about it, you're going to end up being retarded. So you're better off just being retarded from the beginning and just keep things simple and don't aggregate it. I don't want to explain too much more than that, to be honest. Define price acceptance. I did this explanation in the Paragon on Friday, but basically I'm going to do the shorthand public version is that acceptance is a meme, the way that the majority of people reference it. You know, it's I don't want to pull up my notes and link it to you guys, but you know, it's a combination of a few different factors, and for the most part, acceptance is only obvious after the fact, so you should just not give a fuck about it. That's the real honest answer, right? I take my bets before acceptance is clear, around the idea that we could accept or we could reject, and I just send the trade before it's clear, because you have, you know, that's what trading is rolling the dice before it's obvious. If you roll the dice after it's obvious, it's no longer, you know, positive expected value anymore. Really like your approach in videos. Do you calculate net shorts and net longs like exo charts? No, I don't believe in net long, net short. If you want to do, you know, position changes, right, just do standard open interest and get good at understanding when they're longs or shorts. It's very, very straightforward. Well, time frame question, checking the 1 minute chart. Does the last hour and a half classify as exhaustion of a move, or does this need a harder open interest wipe? I am not confident at all that this is going to be the local bottoming structure, so no. If I wanted to see this, like, I love this like big drive, this is great, this is a decent drive as well, so now you want to see the drives just get weaker and then the rounding out process. But I'm not saying that you can't go up from here. By all means, I'm not looking at the order book or looking at any flow right now, so it could go up from here. But I would not be taking the long just purely off this chart alone. It's not always about the open interest wipe, but honestly, it's about structure and liquidity a lot of the time more than the actual taker flows. Spot and perp pairs have different VWAP values. Do you always use spot? No. So I mean, I mostly use perps actually. Depends. So high time frame, I normally use spot. Low time frame, I normally use perp. The way you explained aggregated volume profiles reminds me of a quote: "Be retarded because thinking is gay." Dude, Wiz Liz. Who said that? That's sick. I've never heard that quote before, but I've said this for years that I've said being smart is for stupid people. That's my version of it that I said. The idea is that if you go through life saying I'm smart and I'm gonna be smart, that arrogance is gonna hold you back from actual true. Like you need a degree of humility to allow wisdom into your life so that you can actually be smarter than other people. So the idea is if I go through life and I just say, hey, I'm not anything special, I'm just a regular person, that frees me up to be open to different ideas and stuff. And because of that, I think that I learn a lot faster because so many people get entrenched in their ideas and their ego. Your ego and entire view of yourself is based on your being smart or not, right? And it's just a really pathetic way to live your life. So, take to each their own. Take it with a grain of salt if you don't really fuck with that idea. But I think that being smart is for stupid people, and I would rather talk myself down because to be honest, I already know I'm smart, so I don't need to tell myself that. I actually would rather tell myself I'm stupid to balance myself out. To each their own. Thank you, Wiz. I think that's a great. I mean, the ending to that quote is fucking hilarious, so I love that. What's the difference between Bitcoin touching all-time high right now and touching all-time high in April? What do you... Touching all-time high like now and in April? I'm not sure what you mean with this question, brother. Previous year, you mean? I'm still not following where you're at, man. Just re-ask the question. It might be me, honestly. It might not be you. What are you doing these days for unwind from trading? Playing CS. I don't really consider CS too much of an unwind because I don't like to lose. But at the same time, I also don't take it that seriously because it's just a game. Yeah, I do play games. Like, I play Counter-Strike and I play WoW with some friends. But, mostly the unwind is, I've got a almost 8-month-old puppy. So I spend a lot of time hanging out with him, going to the park, doing different things like that. I work out a lot. That's pretty much it, though. I don't have a super exciting life, I don't think. Order flow got really overcrowded recently. Even TikTok, they yap on it. Well, it is what it is, guys. I could have told you that was going to happen years ago when I first, got into it. It's just flavor of the month kind of thing. I'll call it right now. What will replace order flow will be AI. Because order flow, it sounds sexy to dumb people, and it sounds like, oh, I'm looking inside the candle at the buys and sells. I have wall hacks. I'm gonna make money now, right? So AI will replace order flow for the cringe debate in the future, and I'll keep doing my thing. Sam, it probably will get clipped and reshared, to be honest. That's what we do. Give me back CSGO. Yeah, I know everybody's crying about CS2 sucking, but just give it some time. Honestly, CS2 was in a pretty good place until the recent update they did was... They fucked up a couple things for sure, like, give me back my B-hops. Gray hairs from trading and heart failure from CS2. What's the chance we fall to 90k and would you max bid on that spot? It's really hard for me to tell, so far in advance, right? But yes, if we, what's the probability that we have to lose 110k before it becomes high probability? So it's not high probability yet. You would need equities to fall a lot and drag you down. Would I be looking to bid 90k if we came all the way down here? Like I for sure would, or I almost for sure would, right? I need some context, but I almost for sure would. The play learning options? Yeah, probably. One indicator will tell me who's in control. Your balls. There's not an indicator that tells you if somebody's in control or not. I mean, I guess like VWAPs are probably one of the closest things to tell you that. You know, if VWAP is sloped upwards, the bulls are in control. If it's sloped downwards, bears are in control. You looking to buy any hypes or any projects? Yeah, I'll talk about alts here in a minute, brother. Hold up. You're no problem, Rodney. My bad. What's the difference from Bitcoin touching the previous all-time high 47K in April and Bitcoin touching? Oh, that's interesting. That's what you mean. So, what's the difference between us touching this all-time high, right, and touching this all-time high? And the answer is not a whole lot. I mean, it's kind of pretty fucking similar, right? The main difference that I could say is the time of the year is going to be a significant difference, right? Time of the year really matters in markets, so this one is just more optimistic because it's leading into Q4. I didn't really think about what you were asking until you asked it, though. What does it mean when people say single prints? It means it's a 30-minute candle that doesn't have, you know, it's an absence of two-way trade. I shouldn't have tried to load this chart up. Any instance where you're on a 30-minute time frame and you have a candle that doesn't have any two-way trade, it's a single print. I should have just showed you this one, right? This was a single print. I'll even go over the 30-minute for you. We traded up really aggressively. This is a single print and this is a single print. It's a 30-minute candle where there's no, you know, two-way trade. It's literally just up. So it's initiative zone. It tells you you should expect it to act as support, which it failed to do so, and that's why I'm playing things safely right now. B-hops, I was one of the guys with decent aim. Oh, chat move, fuck. Giving back my movement. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit of both. I definitely can B-hop, but I learned that back in the day, you could just hard carry with B-hops and be a mediocre aimer, but in modern Counter-Strike, you have to learn how to aim, so my aim has gotten a lot better these days because I grind on it now. Might be a dumb question, but Q4 being bullish is pretty consensus, bit concerning. Maybe so, maybe not, you know. A lot of the time, my big picture plans are lined up with consensus and they either work or they don't, you know. We'll just, you know, it's the plan and we'll just move forward. I don't really care that a lot of other people will do that, you know. This probably sounds pretty arrogant, but it's pretty common over the years that I say things and then I'll listen to other people kind of saying them as well. So it's just kind of the natural order of things. I don't let other people copying me affect me that way. If it starts to fail as a plan, then we'll adjust accordingly. Thoughts on Litecoin? I mean, Litecoin is super strong right now. I haven't gotten to the alt section, guys. I don't have a ton more that I want to say on Bitcoin. I just never even successfully caught up with chat because you guys are yapping. This is my main plan right here, guys. I think that we're, you know, and I drew this before a lot of this shit played out, right? I think that we're going to be stuck between 116 and probably 111, 112-ish. Build out a range. It'll probably be a range that will look something like this, and then from there we'll make our decision if we're going to go up again or if we're going to go lower. How do you determine your stop loss? Do you use a hard stop or do you just adjust risk exposure? I have a principle that I made up a long time ago called hard stop, manual stop. So the idea is if, you know, if this is our range and I want to take a short, you know, and I short right here, you know, put an alert over the high and then put a hard stop here. Fuck. So my fixed risk to reward is this. Right, this is where my hard stop is up here. My fixed risk to reward is defined as such, but my manual stop is here. So if price starts to drift up right here, I can just close it out and take a partial loss. So there you go. I have used that approach for many years now. The goal was to never let the hard stop hit. If your hard stops are hitting when you're trading like that, you're fucking up. It's more the more ranging here, the bigger the expansion argument. True. Kinda. I mean, it's generally true that the longer you range, the further you're gonna go, right? But a lot of people aren't, you know, if a lot of the people that you're hearing that from are not applying the context right or explaining it correctly. So a lot of times you should just take these things with a grain of salt. Do you not consider this range of deviation? That is one of my, I mean, I've already showed that plan, right? The idea that we could re-accept back into the range. I just don't think it's that likely, guys. It is possible, though. What do you think about putting profits into Hyperliquid Vault? I'm not super interested in anything like that. And each size when talking or trading that style, you size against the stop. No, you want to size against the hard stop normally, but I mean, I don't really do risk parameters in any of the ways that you guys are taught. None of the lessons, honestly, the cliche lessons that you have been taught about risk are anything that I'm going to actually apply. One of the main reasons for that is, like, I trade with such a small percentage of my overall worth that I risk so much more of my account than you ever could. Because if I'm trading with 10% of my money or 5% of my money, then going and risking, you know, 10, 20, 30% of the account is not a big deal. So I risk things a lot harder than you guys should. I don't want to do a whole risk yap, you know. You just start off with your fucking boring risk 2% of your account and learn how to fucking, you know, evolve from there to most of your trades should be just tiny risk, and then you have your 1 out of every 20 trades that is your big send it trade, and you nut up and risk 20% of your account. Closing out for a partial loss increases your average trade risk reward more than people think. Increases your average trade risk reward. No, it will reduce it. What do you mean? If I have a hard stop for 1R and I stop myself out for you know, 0.6R, I've reduced the risk reward on the drawdown side of it. Oh, maybe you're okay. That's what you're saying. Okay, so this is again a huge reason as to why I do this. You goobers don't deserve this stuff, honestly. If I take this same setup, and this is the soft stop, and this is the hard stop, you calculate your risk around the hard stop. So your trade setup is only a 1.5R trade, right? Per the fixed risk parameters. But when it's managed correctly, it's now a 4R trade or a 3R trade because you're managing the risk effectively. Your target side is roughly the same, but your stop loss, right, is so much less, right? What you're risking is so much less. So when you do this appropriately, you're getting the positive expectancy on the risk to reward and on the probability of the trade. Because this style alone, if you just are hard stop, hard take profit Andy, the probability on this is not that good. Or the probability on this one is pretty bad too, to be honest. But anyways, we're going to digress from that yap. If you want to better understand this explanation of how I handle my risk, I have a proper video in Paragon that explains it in my risk section. Why don't you have 100K as key previous? Wondering why it's 110, 109. I have 100K somewhere. Am I on the wrong? Oh, I'm on the wrong chart. That's why. I just have too many charts, boys. That's what it is. So I have 100K marked. I just don't care about it, right? I think that this level matters a lot more, and I don't think 100K is going to fucking matter anymore. That's the answer to your question, honestly. Yep, that's what I mean. It's pretty insane. Yes, it is, Jonathan, but it's very, you know, I gave you guys the explanation. It's very difficult to actually pull it off, but if you can do what I just depicted, you know, that is a incredibly powerful approach to discretionary trading. So if you hit it big with that, you owe me 10%. It's contractually obligated. Yes, I am. You know, you're not understanding my point when I'm saying that AI can replace order flow. I'm not talking about from an actual trading standpoint. I'm talking about from a LARPing standpoint, right? All the LARPs are going to fucking yap about AI over the next few years. They're going to sell you AI courses, and they're going to sell you AI tools and all this bullshit to suck money out of you. And they'll keep doing that, and you know, I will continue to incorporate more and more AI stuff into my work life and into my trading and stuff, but it's not, I don't think, ever going to be the main thing for me, right? I'm not going to move away from any of this stuff, right? I found my home and my place with trading here. Digital AI waifu arc. I got you. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and move on to a little bit of alt yap. You know, that's what you guys care about. So Litecoin is obviously super interesting right now. I do not know what is going on with it exactly. It's probably, you know, it's probably front running some strategic, you know, not strategic reserve, some treasury company bullshit. So, you know, Litecoin's probably the next treasury company scam. I don't know what to say on it other than that. It definitely looks very interesting to me. Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, it looks pretty hot. Like, you know, if it can just break out of this area, it could just send. But who knows, man? Look, guys, my my altcoin exposure is, you know, near zero right now. I don't care about hardly any of these things. My you know, my exposure is, you know, pretty much just Bitcoin, the S&P, and the Nasdaq right now, and I'm just trying to chill until I think Bitcoin's done with its bottoming stage. Right? Whenever all of risk assets are done with their bottoming stage, well, eventually what I'll do is I'll swap some of my Bitcoin back out into alts. When that time comes, it's probably going to be, you know, I'll pick altcoins, or excuse me, I'll pick memes. Will almost for sure be my high beta play, and maybe some layer ones like Solana. You know, I know a lot of you guys are interested in hype, and, you know, I've appreciated hype over the, you know, this trend, but I'm definitely done with hype for the time being. Maybe SPX is one of the memes that I might add. I've never traded SPX before, but I might pick this one up next recycle. Again, I think that since Bitcoin's probably not done trading down, you don't want to be too eager to be getting into these shitters, right? I think that they are probably set to continue bleeding, but the, you know, optimistic side of this thing is that, you know, eventually these things are going to be rippers, right? Honestly, like, you should be paying attention to boomer coins right now. Where's Ripple at, too? Ripple actually looks the worst out of the dinos. Litecoin looking sexual. Bitcoin Cash looking sexual. I mean, these guys are probably getting front run for the treasury company plays right now. I don't have a whole lot of interest in yapping about alts beyond that, right? Like I did say, I have basically zero altcoin exposure right now. I'm mostly just in the corn. And yeah, I mean, if there's any specific alts you want me to look at, we can look at it. But oh yeah, I should probably look at ETH. So I've definitely missed the ETH run for sure. Not too bothered by it by any means. Let's look at on the BTC pair. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the first stages of true optimism that ETH has shown ever since, you know, 2021, basically. Like, this is the first fight for a trend structure that we've ever had. So if you see a move where ETH pulls back, I think that that's probably where the trend structure can really shift and start to make the higher lows along the way. I might change my tune and become an ETH allocator at some point if I think it's going to be a good play. As of right now, though, I'm still just Bitcoin centric. That is, you know, probably it for a lot of the talking points for me on alts, right? It should not be over. I mean, it's a little bit late for me to be saying this now. You've already gone into drawdown if you didn't sell, but you don't want to be too aggressive with shitters right now. Do you think recent Altcoin weakness maybe Insinuating a Popcat-esque route. No, I don't think so. We can look at Popcat, but Fartcoin's price structure always looks bad when we go risk off, and yeah, we don't want to focus on Popcat. Fartcoin always looks really bad when we go risk off because it just, it's one of your leading memes. It's going to go up a lot when we're bullish and down a lot when we're bearish. I'm pretty sure that Fartcoin will end up being a monster play eventually because they do such a good job with Fartcoin at maintaining mind share. People are still continuing to talk about it, and that's all that matters. So, I wouldn't be buying into it just yet by any means, but this is probably going to be one of your better memes to bet on. What you see in front of you, even though I don't really hold these coins right now, are probably the core ones that I will be looking to bet on when the time comes. ETH meme's kind of underwhelming. What's considered an ETH meme, like Pepe? Alright, Lucifer, just for you, we're going to look at your dog shit, and I will only make fun of it if it deserves to be made fun of. Morpho? What the fuck kind of dumb coin is this? Ew. Crazy. Thank you, Lucifer, for the high quality shill. John, you're about to get promoted 100%. Can you cover hype and where you'd bid spot bags? Yeah, sure, I'll try. Probably closer to $30, like 32 to 30. So I'll call it 31. You use TPO? That's crazy that you don't know that I use TPO. Yes, I do. I thought that was one of the things that everybody knew me for at this point. I mostly just use TPO on Bitcoin. I don't really do a whole lot of TPO on alts. ENA. Looks a lot like hype. Very, very similar structuring to hype. I would say buy this around 50 cents, maybe. About 50 cents is probably a good bid on this one. It looks very, very similar structuring locally to what hype looks like. This is like identical almost. Right? Look at that. It doesn't look terrible. I know this is a very hyped up coin and stuff. I don't personally like the macro structure on this one, so I've ignored it. You're telling me to look at a coin that has like 3 weeks of price history. What are your long-term thoughts on Hyperliquid? I don't really have any long-term thoughts. Most of my conviction on Hyperliquid was borrowed from my friends that were, I have fundamentally smart friends. I trusted them on it. I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. Aave? Yeah, so Aave, if I was to make a DeFi play, it would probably be Aave or Maker. Maker might look better than Aave right now. I'm not interested in making this is what I look at Aave and I say this is a smart play. In the sense that like, I'm trying to make a fundamentally sound play, right? Aave is one of the most successful DeFi protocols in history. So buying this is like trying to make a smart play on a actual piece of useful tech. I'd rather make a dumb play and just buy a meme coin, guys, honestly. Just get the timing right, buy a meme coin, sell it, have it go up way more than Aave. I don't have to care about fundamentals or anything. Just move on. We have a bunch of hype bulls in Paragon because I mean there was a bunch of people that made absolutely insane amounts of money off of it, and I did not. Is what it is though. All right, guys. So I'm probably gonna wrap up the stream here pretty shortly. Hour into it. Push like if you didn't already. Hopefully you learned something today, or got a laugh or whatever, you know, some sort of enjoyment. Any last minute questions, by all means, hit me with it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm gonna move on with my day. I got some stuff I need to work on. Hopefully everyone's doing well though. You know, don't let some of the negative sentiment in the space shake you. I've been here for a long time, and the constant ebb and flow between we're so back and it's so over is always you know, I don't think exacerbated is the right word, but blown out of proportion, right? We're always so much more back than we really are, where it's always so much more over than it really is, right? People are gonna think it's over right now, and it's not, you know. When can I ask you to look at dog shit 10 million meme coins on Dexgrainer? You know, I wanted to be funny and say something clever or whatever, but just nothing came to me. I got nothing for you, bro. Send that on Doc's stream, 100%. He'll appreciate that. No problem, John. Appreciate you, brother. When do you think TRB will scam pump? Who knows, bro? I haven't traded TRB since 2023. I don't even know what it looks like anymore. Yeah. Fuck this coin, you know? This was the last glory days of TRB. I would just ignore this thing, man. Pump holding strong. Yeah, I've been ignoring it for the most part. We can look at it. Yeah, I don't know. No problem, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for the positive, you know, comments and whatnot. Doc stolen Valor XPT. You know what? It's funny. You guys, you know, might not have heard this, but a few months ago, somebody went in. Maybe this was like last year. Somebody went in his stream and called him a failed physician. So now you know, I call him a failed physician all the time. So now I'm gonna call him a failed physician and stolen Valor. It's just too good, honestly. It's actually really funny that people would think that like that's a point of failure to not pursue being a doctor after finishing school and choosing to be a trader when it definitely worked out for him. No problem, Nelly. No problem, guys. Appreciate you. Great input in the cookbook. Hey, love to hear it, brother. Yeah, we're going to be working really hard on the cookbook stuff, too. It's just a little side project. Not really connected directly to any of my big projects or anything. But yeah, should be fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy what we're putting out. Bro was rage baiting. 100%. Well, it's some of the, whether you're rage baiting or not, like we love those comments. We joke about those years later. It's like the guy that came in my stream years ago and was talking really arrogantly about order flow, and I said something about how it's not like the, you know, end all be all. You know, I'm not ever going to come on here and say that if you learn a bit of order flow, you're going to be a god, right? Reality, it's probably not going to change too much for you at all. Some guy took that personal, and the comment that we joke about all to this day was 30 and rich because of order flow, but okay, buddy. So that's still a good one that we get a laugh out of, just like even 2 or 3 years later. So you guys don't actually know. Sometimes your troll comments like bring us so much more joy than you can ever imagine. We'll joke about it years later and still get a laugh out of it. So anyways, that's it for me. He's less cocky made me funny. That's me funny. All right, guys, that's it for me. Good luck out there. I'll see you guys soon.